Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and you're listening to an episode of the Web Development Podcast. In this video, what I want to do is talk about the difference between a website and a web application. Because they do represent sort of like if you're a developer, there's really kind of two mindsets, and I think a lot of people just confuse like if you're a web developer, that everything is just a thing you develop and that all paths are the same, but web applications are a very different thing than a website. Let me just put it into perspective. Like a web application, think of a company that develops a web application as a company where the web is their product. In a sense, think like Instagram or Facebook. Facebook, the company, their product is the Facebook platform. Yes, they generally monetize through ads, but the idea is that their product is creating this thing that we use, Facebook. Okay, so that's a web application. Okay, you are consuming the application, and the company itself, like when you get hired as a developer for a web startup or who's developing a web application, your job is to help build this product, to maintain this product. Whether you're adding new features, so you need to add more endpoints to the back end, or you're adding more features, so you need to wire up new forms and new components in the front end. That's when you're working in the context of a web application. Now, a website is where the web component is not the product. This is merely a sort of communication point. So think about it like a e-commerce website. The e-commerce website, like someone who developed the e-commerce platform, like someone who developed Shopify, Shopify is a web application, but someone who creates their website on Shopify, they have a website. Okay, it's an e-commerce website, but the idea is that you're not going to the website isn't the thing you're consuming. This is a way for you to connect with a physical product or a service that you want to consume. Okay, so basically the website is more of a matter of communication. So it depends who your potential client is, what technologies you want to use. Okay, so if I'm in the art of building web applications, okay, and I want to work for startups or create my own startup to build web applications, then that's where you really kind of need to really understand like all the nuances of like back-end applications and front-end applications, building routes, APIs, client side versus server side versus static rendering, kind of like the whole gambit of how the web works. As an instructor with General Assembly, and as a developer myself, this is generally the area that I'm focused on, because this is where sort of you really have to have a deeper understanding of these technologies and languages to do the thing. Now, if you want to be a web developer in the sense where your clientele isn't people who are building a web application, but someone who needs a website. So a local business who needs a e-commerce website, a blogger or a journalist who wants a blog, a photographer who wants to build a portfolio website. Okay, in this case, your client, their needs are different. You don't need to build them a custom web application. What you need to build them is a website. And depending on what their needs are, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Using a platform like a WordPress, a Squarespace, Shopify, Wix, these platforms make sense. So really, because it's really more of a physical representation a lot of the time, especially if you're talking about like a portfolio website. So you're more concerned like how does their site physically look like, necessarily than sort of the guts. They're not going to get so much traffic, kind of like a web application would, like let's say Google, who gets lots of web traffic. So things like optimization and really optimizing how their code is run and then how their API calls are made, and really trying to find those small optimizations so their code runs smoother isn't necessarily as much of a concern. The concern is just there's a place, for that maybe, a couple thousand people who go to check out their portfolio every month can go to. So in that case, HTML and CSS is going to be much more your bread and butter. On top of it, an understanding of the platform you're focusing on. Because there is a lot to WordPress, okay? I mean, you need to know the language PHP, which is a good thing. You don't have to technically. You can actually do freelance work in WordPress without ever really touching PHP. I mean, so PHP would allow you to kind of add custom functionality. But I mean, HTML and CSS to customize the look of the website. You probably need to know the basics of PHP just to kind of help manipulate some of the templating aspects of it, or and if you want to go deeper, to build out custom plugins. But mostly it's going to be sort of like on making a, with WordPress, it's mainly going to be like building out a theme or finding a theme that exists that works for them and customizing that theme. which is where you would probably offer the lowest price point. So that's where like someone who basically says, "Hey, I only got like $1,000 to make a website," you'd probably start out with an pre-existing theme, customize it to their needs, use pre-existing plugins with very little customization to give them the functionality they want on their WordPress website. Or you customize their Squarespace site that has the functionality they need, etc. There are some technologies that I think are good to know if you're going to go in that sort of freelancing website type space. Headless CMSs are great. They offer another way to provide a sort of back end, and they provide an API so that way you can still build that front end with React, Angular, Vue. So you can have that sort of blazing, fast client-side rendered front end if that's what you'd like to do. Static site generators, especially if you're working with someone to build them out like a blog or something like that. A static site generator would make their site more secure, more faster, and actually probably cheaper to host. So learning into things like Gatsby, Gridsome, Scully, and then learning how to use things like Netlify CMS to actually connect sort of a markdown-based backend to it is actually a really cool thing where you can actually really offer very, very low cost, not only low cost in like the time you have to spend, but low cost in the maintenance and the hosting and all that stuff. Really cool, nice custom solutions that are super fast. So there are some cool solutions in that regard, and they're both ways you can make money, and there's no reason why you can't make money both ways. But I mean, if you're looking for like a full-time job, you're generally going to find that in sort of the web application space, finding web startups who are hiring developers to help them work on their application. Far as full-time work in the website space is mostly going to be, so again, working for Squarespace would be working on the application that is Squarespace. Working on someone's Squarespace website would be helping them with their website. And in that case, your full-time work would look more like you work for an agency who has many clients, and then you may be doing, you may be like a specialist in Squarespace, and then every month you might be doing 2 or 3 different clients' websites that the agency has hired. Okay, and they have somebody else who's kind of focusing on the sales side and bringing in the customers. Or you're a freelancer, okay, and then you seek your own clients, and then maybe you have one client, but you get to keep the entire payment. You do the entire thing. Okay, so that one or two clients a month, you make $4 or $5 grand a month on 1 or 2 clients, and you just kind of keep that momentum going. There are different sort of paths you can go, and it also depends on the. So again, if you're going to go on that website freelancing route, probably PHP is going to be a language you're going to want to learn very well, because most of those CMSs and platforms are in PHP. If you're going to go on the web application route, then really sky's the limit. You just need to really be good at programming and learn programming. Meaning focusing on, Ruby, Python, JavaScript, particularly JavaScript, because it's like the web is JavaScript. I mean, that's the language that runs in the browser. You're doing any kind of front-end stuff, you're going to be doing a lot of JavaScript in today's world. You're doing back-end stuff, you're probably going to be using Ruby or Python or JavaScript, depending on sort of the route. But there's also possibilities they might be using things like Go, Rust, or C++ in their backend, or PHP. Okay, Facebook technically uses PHP, but they use what's called the hip hop virtual machines. What that does is actually takes that PHP and turns it into C++, which is really cool. Like, Facebook has interesting stuff that they do. But yeah, so just hopefully this gives you a little bit more perspective. Like, what does that mean when you say web application versus website? How to think about it. Like, is the thing you're working on the product, or is the thing you're working on connecting people to the actual product? I would expect that I'd expect that you'd get full-time work from a web application, because that's the thing. It's constantly building out this thing, adding new features, optimizing it, versus a website, which is more like, I just need something on the web so customers can find me. And then beyond that, so basically you're going to provide me some design work, but you'll use some sort of pre-existing platform, because again, the functionality is not, having some sort of custom functionality is not my thing. Is that I just need people to be able to buy my stuff, to reach out to me. I need to be able to capture leads. So I need you to help me set up like MailChimp and set up ZenGrid so I can text my clients and stuff like that. So then there's like, you're offering more than just sort of like helping them set up their website. You might offer them some marketing work like SEO, helping them do email marketing. You're offering sort of a different suite of services. But yeah, so my name's Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com. Have a great day and enjoy. And also make sure you head over to devnursery.com, join the Slack and Discord community, and follow me on YouTube, Twitter, etc. Have a great day and enjoy.